Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi outlines how his government has redefined women-led development over the last 11 years, says women empowerment is crucial to India's growth. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to travel to France and Belgium on a week-long visit to also hold talks with EU leaders. World leaders gather in France for the third UN Ocean Conference, tackling overfishing, climate change and pollution high on its agenda. And Trump deploys troops to the US city of Los Angeles after a second day of protests and clashes over the arrest of illegal immigrants. The third United Nations Ocean Conference is set to begin in the French city of Nice on Monday. Co-hosted by France and Costa Rica, the five-day conference aims to accelerate action on protecting the world's oceans. Here's a report. The third edition of the conference will seek to mobilize all actors and stakeholders to conserve and sustainably use the oceans. It will focus on key themes such as restoring marine ecosystems, reducing pollution, and promoting ocean-based scientific cooperation. The third UN Ocean Conference will be held from 9th to 13th June. Accelerating action and mobilizing all actors to conserve and sustainably use the ocean is its theme. It aims to identify ways and means to support the implementation of Sustainable Development Goal number 14. The Sustainable Development Goal 14 is also known as Life Below Water. It focuses on protecting and managing marine environments, addressing issues such as pollution, overfishing, and the effects of climate change on the oceans.
The conference itself will adopt a brief, concise, but action-oriented declaration and compile voluntary commitments from all the sectors as a part of what will be referred to as the Nice Ocean Action Plan.
Minister of Earth Sciences Independent Charge Jitendra Singh will represent India at the conference. He will deliver India's national statement at the plenary and hold bilateral meetings with other ministers on the margins of the conference. A key highlight of his visit is an India-Norway side event on sustainable marine governance. Oceans cover more than 70% of Earth's surface. Oceans play a crucial role in regulating environmental balance by absorbing heat and carbon dioxide, moderating the climate, and supporting diverse ecosystems. They are also a provider of vast resources and biodiversity, an important enabler of trade, and an essential link between countries and human communities. And protecting the oceans means protecting a large carbon sink. A carbon sink is anything that absorbs more carbon from the atmosphere than it releases. Ahead of the conference, activists and organizations held protests in Nice demanding better protection of the world's oceans and marine wildlife. Wearing blue and white color clothes, the participants held banners that read, "Protect the ocean, protect life." They denounced activities such as bottom trawling, which is a method of fishing where a cone-shaped net is dragged along the seafloor to catch marine life. It's a destructive practice that can significantly impact the seabed and surrounding ecosystems. Bureau Report, DD India. India's Earth Sciences Minister Jitendra Singh addressed the Monaco Marine Conference on Sunday, reaffirming India's commitment to building a resilient blue economy. In his address, Minister Singh said Prime Minister Narendra Modi had underscored the importance of the blue economy in his Independence Day addresses. Minister Singh highlighted the India-Norway collaboration in marine spatial planning, a part of the Indo-Norwegian Integrated Ocean and Research Initiative, which has already produced impactful results. The collaboration has led to pilot projects in Puducherry and Lakshadweep, tackling key concerns such as coastal erosion, biodiversity conservation, fisheries management, and sustainable tourism. Earlier, Minister Singh reached Monaco in France on Sunday for a series of high-level meetings aimed at fostering international cooperation in marine research and climate science. He held bilateral discussions with Norway's Minister of International Development aboard a historic vessel. The talks focused on strengthening India-Norway cooperation in key areas such as marine planning, Arctic research, and advancing a resilient blue economy. Ahead of the Marine Spatial Planning meeting, Norway's Minister of International Development conveyed Norway's solidarity with India in light of the Pahalgam terror attack. The Norwegian minister acknowledged the strong public sentiment in Norway in favor of India and said that many of its citizens have expressed their desire to see Prime Minister Modi in Norway. Minister Singh was received by the Crown Prince of Norway upon his arrival there. June 8th is World Oceans Day, a time to celebrate and raise awareness of issues affecting the world's oceans. The theme for this year's summit is Wonder, Sustaining What Sustains Us. Taking a leap ahead, India has joined the Clean Seas program and committed itself to reducing marine litter and plastic in the oceans.
Each year on June 8, the world comes together to celebrate World Oceans Day. The ocean covers 70% of our planet and produces more than half the oxygen we breathe. It feeds over 1 billion people and supports millions of jobs worldwide. But this great wonder is under threat. Plastic makes up 80% of marine pollution, with 8 to 10 million tons entering the ocean every year. By 2050, plastic could outweigh all the fish in the sea. In just the last decade, we have produced more plastic than in the entire previous century, and nearly all of it still exists as harmful microplastics. We have lost half of coral reefs and 90% of big fish populations. The ocean also absorbs 30% of human carbon emissions, helping slow climate change, but it can't do this alone.
Together, we have signed up to an ambitious global commitment to protect 30% of land and sea by 2030. It is our best chance of reversing the damage done to our planet and restoring its well-being. But the clock is ticking. 2030 is fast approaching, and only 17% of land and just 3% of the ocean has been fully protected. If we are to reach our goal, we urgently need to take bold action to protect and restore our planet. We must realize the potential of the blue economy for our ecosystems, our economies, and our communities.
The theme for World Oceans Day 2025 is Wonder, Sustaining What Sustains Us. It reminds us to protect the ocean that supports all life on Earth. You can help by saving water, reducing plastic waste, choosing sustainable seafood, and joining local cleanups. This year, events in Nice, France, including the parade of boats from Monaco, will highlight our shared responsibility to care for the ocean. The ocean is our world's greatest wonder. It's time we protect it for today and for the future. India has taken a leap ahead in ocean conservation by being a signatory of UN Coastal Clean Seas campaign, aligning with the Swachh Bharat vision. Considering the dangers of plastic waste, India has implemented a nationwide ban on single-use plastic from 1st of July 2022. Ministry of Earth Sciences has joined the United Nations on the Clean Seas program to develop strategies for estimating and reducing marine litter and plastic in the oceans, which is also a part of Sustainable Development Goal 14. Bureau Report, DD, India.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will be on an official visit to France, the European Union and Belgium from the 8th to the 14th of June. India and France have completed 25 years of strategic partnership. The minister would travel to Paris and Marseille, where he would be holding bilateral talks with his French counterpart. He would also participate in the inaugural edition of the Mediterranean Ricina Dialogue, which will be held in Marseille. In Brussels, the minister would hold a strategic dialogue with EU High Representative and Vice President Kaja Kallas. Minister Jaishankar will hold bilateral consultations with Belgium's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister and others. He will also interact with members of the Indian community. And still to come on DD India NewsHour. Trump's travel ban on 12 countries to come into effect on Monday. Colombia's presidential candidate Miguel Uribe, shot in the head, fights for his life in hospital. And Italians vote in referendums on easing citizenship rules and strengthening labor protections. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Protests erupted in the U.S. city of Los Angeles following the arrest of 45 illegal immigrants. Demonstrators clashed with law enforcement officials and cars were set ablaze as tensions soared. Trump deployed troops to the city. DD India's Mayor Mercury has the details.
The American dream is under siege as President Trump's immigration crackdown intensifies. In Los Angeles, protests erupted over raids conducted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, with demonstrators clashing with law enforcement.
These raids are injustices. We got off to record so people could see what's actually going on.
Friday's ICE operations led to at least 45 arrests, sparking these widespread unrest. Protesters set cars ablaze, faced off with police, and raised Mexican flags to voice their dissent.
The government doesn't listen to us. Nobody listens to us. Nobody. So it's up to us to stand up for our people. This might look bad to everybody else, but to us, this is the only way that we're going to get hurt.
President Trump deployed 2,000 National Guard troops to Los Angeles to quell the unrest. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warned that active duty Marines will be mobilized if violence continues. But Trump's move drew flack from California governor, who described the order as unnecessary and purposefully inflammatory. The protests pit a Democratic-run Los Angeles with its significant Hispanic and immigrant population against Trump 2.0, which has made cracking down on immigration its hallmark. As tensions escalate, Americans and the world watch closely to see what the future holds for US immigration policy and civil liberties. Mihir Makuri for DD India.
Trump has warned Elon Musk of serious consequences if he gives funding to Democratic candidates to run against Republicans who vote in support of a sweeping budget bill. The feud erupted after Musk denounced Trump's $2.4 trillion tax and spending bill as a disgusting abomination, complicating its passage in the legislature. Despite their fallout, Trump said he has no plans to cancel government contracts with Musk's SpaceX or Starlink. Musk, who spent nearly $300 million supporting Trump's 2024 campaign, deleted critical social media posts, including one backing Trump's impeachment. The bill, which passed the House, faces Senate scrutiny. Trump remains confident it will pass by 4th July, while Musk calls for a new political party representing the 80% in the middle. Trump's order banning citizens of 12 countries from entering the U.S. goes into effect after 0400 GMT on Monday. The countries affected by the latest travel ban are Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan and Yemen. The entry of people from 7 other countries, namely Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan and Venezuela, will be partially restricted. The travel ban forms part of Trump's policy for restricting immigration into the U.S. and is reminiscent of a similar move in his first term when he barred travelers from 7 Muslim-majority countries. Colombian lawmaker and presidential candidate Miguel Uribe remains in critical condition after being shot 3 times at a campaign event in Bogota. While he was addressing supporters, a gunman opened fire, striking him twice in the head and once in the knee. The gunman has since been detained. Uribe is undergoing procedures on his head and his left thigh and is under intensive care. Police identify the suspected attacker as a 15-year-old minor. 2 other people, a man and a woman, were also wounded in the shooting and a Glock-style firearm recovered from the scene. Meanwhile, Colombia's President Gustavo Petro promises investigations and no resource spared to find the perpetrators.
There should be no resource spared, not a single moment of energy, dedicated exclusively to finding the masterminds with their real names in the place where they live, whether in Colombia or abroad.
The attack has sparked international condemnation. Chile's President Gabriel Boric expressed outrage, while U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the shooting as an assassination attempt and blamed violent leftist rhetoric from Colombia's higher government positions. Ukraine's military intelligence chief Kyrylo Budanov on Sunday said that his country had reached an agreement with Russia in direct talks to exchange soldiers' remains next week. Budanov also said that Ukraine is facing information pressure and attempts to unilaterally dictate the parameters of the exchange process. His comments came after Russian Lieutenant General Alexander Zorin told a Russian TV channel that trains carrying the bodies of Ukrainian soldiers would begin moving towards the border. Russia has accused Ukraine of delaying the swap of prisoners of war and the return of 12,000 soldiers' bodies. Slovakia will block any EU sanctions against Russia that harm its national interests. Prime Minister Robert Fico's remarks Sunday came after the country's parliament approved a resolution urging the government not to support any new measures. Under Fico, Slovakia, a NATO and EU member, has diverged from its Western allies on the issue of Ukraine. This is evident from the country's decision to halt official state military aid to Ukraine. Italians began 2 days of voting Sunday in a referendum on easing citizenship rules and strengthening labor laws, with Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's government opposed to both and urging people to abstain. The 5 proposals on the ballot were not expected to pass in light of low turnout and the requirement that over 50% of voters participate to validate the referendum. Currently, a non-EU adult resident without marriage or blood ties to Italy must live in the country for 10 years before they can apply for citizenship, a process which can then take years more. The referendum proposal, triggered by a grassroots campaign led by NGOs, would cut this to 5 years, putting Italy in line with Germany and France. Campaigners say around 2.5 million people could benefit from the reform, which is being backed by the centre-left Democratic Party. In a firm response to attempts to violate its maritime blockade, Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz on Sunday directed the military to halt a Gaza-bound charity vessel carrying international activists, including Swedish climate figure Greta Thunberg. The vessel, Madeleine, flagged under Britain and operated by the pro-Palestinian Freedom Flotilla Coalition, departed Sicily on June 6. It's now off Egypt's coast and reportedly heading towards Gaza, despite clear warnings from Israel that such actions undermine regional security and legitimize Hamas, a designated terror group. Thunberg, known for her climate activism, has said she joined the flotilla to challenge Israel's illegal siege and protest what she calls escalating war crimes. Israel maintains that its naval blockade of Gaza is a lawful security measure aimed at preventing arms smuggling to Hamas. Taiwan's Coast Guard held drills with the military on Sunday to better practice joint operations in the face of what the government in Taipei says is a growing grey zone warfare from China. Democratically governed Taiwan has repeatedly complained about these grey zone Chinese activities around the island, designed to pressure it without direct confrontation, such as undersea cable cutting and sand dredging. It's often Taiwan's Coast Guard which scrambles first to respond. The Coast Guard, like the Navy, is in the midst of an expansion and modernization program. Its new Anping-class corvettes, which began being commissioned in 2020, are based on the Navy's Tuo-Chiang-class warships, state-of-the-art, highly maneuverable stealth vessels meant to take out larger warships while operating close to Taiwan's shores. Thailand and Cambodian forces will return to their previously agreed positions, Thai Defense Minister said following talks on Sunday after both reinforced their military presence in a response to a deadly clash last month. For days, the two governments have exchanged statements saying that they were committed to finding a peaceful resolution after a Cambodian soldier was killed during a clash on 28th May in an undemarcated border area. On Saturday, the two countries had both reinforced their military presence, but the Thai Defense Minister said on Sunday that both sides would revert to positions agreed in 2024. He also said both sides hoped the border issue would be fully resolved through a meeting of the Joint Boundary Committee on 14th June. Earlier on Sunday, Thailand shortened the operating hours at 10 border crossings with Cambodia, citing security concerns. On 7th June 1893, a pivotal event in the life of Mahatma Gandhi took place at the Pietermaritzburg railway station in South Africa, an incident that would spark his lifelong commitment to justice and non-violent resistance. The station has since become a historical site with a plaque and museum commemorating the event. Nazneen Ismail reports.
At Pietermaritzburg Railway Station in KwaZulu-Natal, a solemn yet inspiring commemorative event is taking place. It marks exactly 132 years since a young Mahatma Gandhi was thrown off a train here on the night of 7 June 1893. Mahatma Gandhi, then a 24-year-old lawyer newly arrived in South Africa, was ordered off a first-class train carriage despite holding a valid ticket, simply because of the color of his skin. That cold night on the platform sparked a fire within him, a fire that would evolve into Satyagraha, the philosophy of non-violent resistance.
But after this incident, Gandhiji was able to organize, get support of the people and put forth his ideas in a coherent and forceful manner, both to them and to the authorities. He stayed in South Africa for 21 years. He developed the technique and the philosophy of Satyagraha, or non-violent struggle in these lands. His work here was reported in India, and the leader of the Indian National Congress, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, came to invite him to lead the freedom movement. The rest is, as it is said, is history. It all started here in Pietermaritzburg.
Leaders, activists, school learners, and ordinary citizens gathered to honor that moment, not just as a piece of history, but as a living reminder of the power of peaceful protest, dignity, and courage in the face of injustice.
This commemoration is held annually, and each time I come, it is an emotional moment for me, especially seeing this train and trying to understand what actually happened at that time, the humiliation that he suffered, the thoughts that went through his mind, which actually made him transform.
For us particularly, this space is a place of pilgrimage for us. It was not just the transformation of one man, but the transformation, I believe, for humanity. That today is even more special that because we have the comrade runners here to witness this particular commemoration, and I believe that as they run, as they lead their lives ahead, they will take the message from here.
It is here that history quietly changed its tracks. Today we honor the journey that began with a single step off a train into the fight for freedom. For DD India, Pietermaritzburg, South Africa, I'm Nazneen. Be the change you want to see in the world.
All right, now take a look at what else is making news around the world. Thousands of demonstrators flooded the streets of Spain's capital Madrid on Sunday in a protest accusing the government of corruption and misconduct. The rally was organized by the centre-right Popular Party in response to leaked audio recordings that allegedly implicate a member of the ruling Socialist Party in improper political dealings. A powerful 6.3 magnitude earthquake struck Colombia on Saturday, sending shockwaves through the capital city of Bogota. The quake, described as shallow, was strong enough to cause buildings to sway violently. As the tremors hit, sirens blared across the city and residents rushed out onto the streets seeking safety in open areas. The Carnival of Cultures, Germany's biggest festival of diversity and peaceful coexistence, is being celebrated by hundreds of thousands of people in Berlin. More than 70 groups will take part in this year's parade, which will be watched by hundreds of thousands of visitors. And still to come on DD India NewsHour. An expert take on the third UN Ocean Conference that is set to begin in France. A look back at India's welfare programs for uplift of women. And a parliamentary delegation from India attends a BRICS forum in Brazil.
Jaipur.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi outlines how his government has redefined women-led development over the last 11 years. Says women empowerment is crucial to India's growth. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to travel to France and Belgium on a week-long visit to also hold talks with EU leaders. And world leaders gather in France for the third UN Ocean Conference, tackling overfishing, climate change and pollution high on its agenda. Right, going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India NewsHour. The United Nations Ocean Conference is set to begin in the French city of Nice on Monday. Co-hosted by France and Costa Rica, the 5-day conference aims to accelerate action on protecting the world's oceans. Joining us are Mr. R.R. Rashmi, Distinguished Fellow, the Energy and Resources Institute, and as former Special Secretary in the Ministry of Environment. Also joining us is Professor P.K. Joshi, an environmentalist. Gentlemen, welcome to DD India NewsHour. Mr. Rashmi, if I can start with you, may I begin by asking you about the UN Ocean Conference? How and why was it conceived in the first place? And what did the previous 2 editions of the conference achieve?
Look, thank you very much for
welcome.
I'm sorry, for having me on your show. You know, the oceans are a very critical component of the global ecosystem, and the UN recognized the importance of the criticality of the oceans in stability of the global environment way back. So they recognized this particular day as the Oceans Day in 2008, and we have been celebrating, organizing these events to underscore the importance of oceans in the contribution to global environmental stability. There is a very large source of critical, environmental resources. For example, the oxygen. They are a source of carbon sequestration. They are one of the major, largest carbon sinks in the world. They provide oxygen. They are sources of minerals. They are the spectacular biodiversity which they contain. So they provide stability to the global environment. But they are now threatened by the increasing human interference in the global ecosystem, and oceans are impacted by this. So that is why these events are organized by the United Nations. And fortunately, in the last 2 years, there has been a recognition of the need to look at the health of the oceans beyond the domestic territories of the nations. You know, these domestic waters of the nations are already subject to the international regulations and the laws. For example, the Convention on Biodiversity, it mandates the countries to preserve and conserve and restore at least 30% of the total ecosystem, the biodiversity, including that on marine ecosystem. Similarly, we have the other deep sea mining regulations, which also prevent the nations to explore and extract the resources from outside the domestic areas, subject to international regulations. And now we are having a negotiation on the plastics. You know, there is an intergovernmental committee which is already negotiating.
Right.
What should be the nature of the control of on the production of virgin plastics, and how we can control the plastic pollution in the oceans.
Right.
So these are some of the issues on which some progress has taken place in the past years. But this event will mark a very important day in the conclusion and ratification of some of the previous 2 conventions.
Indeed. Professor Joshi, coming to you now for the benefit of viewers watching this broadcast from India and around the world, Why are healthy oceans important? Could you give us a brief overview of the state of the world's oceans?
Well, oceans, they cover the largest part on the Earth's surface. While covering that, they provide a whole range of ecosystem services like climate regulation, which is, cross-country. It is a planetary health which is taken care by oceans, by biomass productivity, and also release of oxygen. In addition to this, in most of the countries which share a large part with the oceans, food security in terms of biodiversity and also in terms of economic development, whole range of value economy where sustaining lives, I would say livelihoods are the main concern. Therein ocean play very important role. In addition to this, we see specifically for the world which is around the equator, there whole range of cultural services are there which are associated with water and very specifically with ocean. So in addition to this, when you look at strategically, they provide a strategic positioning and cooperation between the nations. So therein they play a very important role herein. So now when we talk about conservation and management of oceans, as Rashmi ji has already mentioned about intergovernmental negotiating committee. In addition to that, entire globe is also talking about biodiversity and biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction. And India is one of the signatories to this agreement. So I think, when we are looking in a global arena, providing livelihoods, providing biodiversity, and also when environmental degradation has become a much larger problem for oceans as well, wherein we get to see, oceans are getting polluted because of the inclusion of plastic, which goes as a discharge. So that also makes it a global issue.
Indeed.
Then it provides a wide range of services. Fishing is the simplest one, which everybody should be able to understand, and the kind of seafood culture which prevails across the globe. Therein, at times overfishing, which we generally call as unsustainable fishing, that results into a larger problem.
Indeed.
What we see today, 80% of the pollution which is coming to the oceans is because of the plastics. And people also talk about climate change. Here in coral reefs or biodiversity, specifically big fishes, they have faced a larger challenge across the globe. Almost half of the coral reefs and big fishes, they are almost endangered because of the climate change which are happening over there.
Indeed. Mr. Rashmi, coming back to you, what is India doing either on its own or in partnership with other countries to protect the oceans from climate change, pollution, overfishing, and unsustainable practices?
Sorry again. India is a signatory to all the major international conventions which regulate the health of the oceans. For example, India is a signatory to UN UNCLOS, the law of the International Convention on the Law of the Seas, which regulates deep sea mining and other behavior of the countries in the high seas. Similarly, India is a signatory to the Climate Change Treaty and the Convention on Biodiversity, which all have components impacting their actions on the oceans and the biodiversity. So we are, as a nation, I think we are already committed to maintain the health of the oceans. We have a domestic biodiversity law ourselves. We have a coastal regulation zone in the country, CRZ law. We have National Coastal Mission now, which we have already launched. There is a national program on MISTI, for example, mangroves conservation and restoration. About almost 550 square kilometers of coastal area is supposed to be protected and restored under mangroves. So we have our own domestic commitments in terms of biodiversity, coastal protection, and prevention of coastal erosion and maintenance of the coastal line.
Right.
But the problem which the world is grappling with today is that of the health of the oceans on the high seas, which are subject to pollution, marine pollution by ships, international shipping, by the coastal pollution, the littering of the marine waters by plastics and other pollutants. So the question is how to regulate this kind of behavior of the different nations and their instruments. And the plastics is now the major concern. Deep sea mining is another major concern. The High Seas Treaty, which was signed in 2023, talks about everything, biodiversity, as well as all these actions. So India is committed, and domestically we are taking a number of actions that I think we are prepared to contribute.
Right. Professor Joshi, how do you assess the progress on achieving the Sustainable Development Goal 14 in particular?
Well, if you look at country, right from the Prime Minister, there is a very high degree of concern related to oceans. And the attendance of the minister to this conference along with his team, that further emphasizes that India is just not concerned about that, but it also wishes to take strict actions. And there are a whole range of treaties wherein such kind of things are being talked about. What country is emphasizing on is how to check or how to manage water pollution or waste dispersal which takes place in the coastal areas, because whole range of, with the 7,500 kilometers of coastline, there is a whole range of livelihood and economics which is associated with this. So from the science perspective, what I get to see is larger interests are being taken in the ocean science and ocean education across the country. People are talking about certification of the food, seafood very specifically, which can strengthen and bring the angle of sustainable food extraction from the oceans. Therein, when we are talking about this, along with this cross-country, we are talking about marine cooperation, ocean sustainability. So a whole range of investment is taking place onto this. Innovations are taking place. So people are, right from the perspective of agreements to the science action and also community building. People are talking about the sustainable management of the ocean resources. And that is how, when you see the tagline of Ocean Day today, it talks about sustaining what sustains us. So globally, as well also in the domestic world, we are very much impressed with the wonder of oceans, but we are equally concerned about how to sustain them, because they are basically surrogating whole range of life and the support to the human life and the other life forms which are over there. So our commitments, whether it is in INC, whether it is in BBNJ or coastal regulations, they show that we are proactively participating towards this. And when you are talking about SDG engagement or strategic engagement, therein again, country has shown some of the wonderful things.
Right.
The most important thing which is happening globally is United Nations has identified this as a decade for ocean restoration, 2021 to 2030. So therein again, our active participation from the science community and also enabling the local communities, that further emphasizes the concern and the dedication towards sustainable management of the fishing or fishing resources or the ocean resources which are over there.
Right. I'm afraid that's all we have time for. I will have to leave it at that. May I thank both our guests, Mr. Rashmi and Professor Joshi, for joining us and sharing your perspectives with our viewers in India and around the world. Thank you. Appreciate it. Right. Moving on, the Prime Minister Modi-led government has completed 11 years in office. Up next, we revisit government initiatives to empower and uplift women. Women empowerment has been a hallmark of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. The next report delves into various government initiatives that are designed to empower the country's women and promote women-led development.
Under the government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the focus has shifted from women's development to women-led development. Over the last 11 years, schemes like Beti Bachao Beti Padhao and Mission Shakti have been a reflection of this. Women and children comprise nearly 67.7% of India's population, and their empowerment is not just social reform. It's a strategic imperative. Let's take a look at initiatives for women. With an investment of over rupees 1.81 lakh crore, Poshan 2.0 is being rolled out to build a culture of well-being through improved practices, stronger immunity, and holistic wellness. One of the world's largest public health efforts, Universal Immunization Program covers nearly 2.9 crore pregnant women annually, protecting both mothers and their newborns from vaccine-preventable diseases. 73% of nearly 2.75 crore PM Awas Gramin Yojana or rural housing scheme beneficiaries are women. Under the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, 10.33 crore LPG connections have been distributed. Over 12 crore toilets have been built under SBM Gramin as part of the Swachh Bharat mission. Over 15.6 crore tap water connections are transforming the lives of the women in rural India, who had to fetch water from long distances. More than 34.11 lakh crore loan amount has been sanctioned under Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Notably, 68% of the beneficiaries are women. Mission Shakti is a flagship initiative to ensure the safety, security, and empowerment of women across all stages of life. Women have also made strides in defense. The graduation of the first batch of female cadets from the National Defense Academy is a testament to this. India boasts the highest number of female pilots in the world and leads globally in the proportion of women graduating in STEM or science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The landmark Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam marks a constitutional leap for women's political empowerment by reserving 33% of seats in the Lok Sabha or lower house and state assemblies for women. The Modi government has placed women at the center of India's development journey, transforming everyday struggles into opportunities for health, safety, and self-reliance. From housing to hygiene, each initiative has uplifted lives and strengthened the foundation of Nari Shakti in rural India. Bureau Report, DD India.
One of the key pro-women schemes of the Government of India is completing 9 years, the Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan. The scheme was designed to provide assured, comprehensive and quality antenatal care free of cost to pregnant women on the 9th of every month, particularly during the 2nd and 3rd trimesters. It aims to reduce maternal and neonatal mortality by facilitating early detection and prompt management of high-risk pregnancies. So far, over 60 million pregnant women have been examined under the scheme. The Indian states such as Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh are among the leading beneficiaries of this scheme. Ace badminton player Lakshya Sen lauded 11 years of the Modi government, saying that it has organized several programs to encourage athletes such as the Khelo India and Target Olympic podium schemes.
The Modi government has completed 11 years, and during this time the government has done remarkable work in sports as well. Several programs has been organized to encourage players such as Khelo India and Target Olympic podium scheme. These programs have provided players with the opportunity to showcase their talent at a global level.
A 6-member parliamentary delegation from India, led by Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, attended the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum held in Brazil from the 3rd to the 5th of June. The meeting unanimously condemned the 22nd April Pahalgam terror attack in India and supported New Delhi's policy of zero tolerance of terrorism. India will host the next BRICS Parliamentary Forum in 2026.
लगातार आर्थिक परिदृश्य में परिवर्तन कर रहा है, लेकिन हमें ब्रिक्स देशों को मिलकर सामूहिक प्रयास करना होगा, क्योंकि भारत वसुदेव कुटुंबकम सबको साथ लेकर संस्कृति और संस्कार वाला देश है और ब्रिक्स देशों वालों लोगों को भी आपस में वैचारिक रूप से भी और व्यापार और आर्थिक परिदृश्य में भी साथ मिलकर सहयोग की आवश्यकता है।
जो गंभीर चर्चा हुई जिसमें भारत ने हर विषय पर अपनी साझेदारी की, वह पर्यावरण से जुड़ी थी, महिला सशक्तिकरण से जुड़ी थी, ब्रिक्स देशों के आपसी संसदीय मंडल में किस तरह से साझेदारी हो, किस तरह से और नजदीकी रिश्ते हमारे बने, हम एक दूसरे के बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस को अपनाएं, इस पर विस्तृत चर्चा हुई। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस पर खुलकर चर्चा हुई और संसदीय प्रणाली में तकनीक के उपयोग पर भी आपसी परामर्श हुआ। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय शांति व सुरक्षा व्यवस्था समेत जो पुरानी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संस्थाएं बनी हुई हैं, यूएन से लेकर सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल और अन्य ऐसी संस्थाएं, उनमें समय के बदलते स्वरूप के अनुसार क्या आवश्यक परिवर्तन हो, इस पर भी चर्चा हुई। यह सम्मेलन भारत की दृष्टि से और भारत जब अगली मेजबानी करेगा उस दृष्टि से बहुत ही सफल निर्णायक रहा। माननीय ओम बिरला जी के नेतृत्व में
ब्रिक पार्लियामेंट्री फोरम ने जो अटैक हमारा पहलगांव में हुआ उसको कंडेम किया। टेररिज्म में जीरो टॉलरेंस पॉलिसी जिसका भारत ने हमेशा जिस पर जोर दिया है उसको स्वीकार किया। आने वाले समय में आप लोगों में आपस में हम लोग इसमें कैसे इससे लड़ा जाए उसको लेकर एक सहमति बनी। जो इंटरनेशनल लॉ हैं वो उनके अनुसार, जो यूएन चार्टर है उसके हिसाब से उनके अनुसार इस पे कार्रवाई की जाएगी और आने वाले वर्षों में टेररिज्म को काउंटर करने के लिए मिलकर ब्रिक्स काम करेगा। इस पर भी एक सहमति बनी और क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म को लेकर भी सहमति बनी है, उसको रोकना है और साथ ही साथ आतंकवाद को किसी धर्म, किसी जाति और किसी रिलीजन से जोड़कर न देखे जाकर टेररिज्म को, आतंकवाद को आतंकवादी की ही तरह देखा जाएगा। इस पर भी सब लोगों की सहमति बनी, जिससे आने वाले वर्षों में पूरी दुनिया को इस आतंकवाद, ब्रिक्स खासतौर से ब्रिक्स के जो कंट्रीज हैं उनमें जो हमारा आतंकवाद है उसको रोकने के लिए हम मिलकर काम करेंगे और भारत इसमें अपनी महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाएगा।
Winds of change are blowing through Gadchiroli, one of Maharashtra's most remote districts that was once affected by left-wing extremism. For the first time in 77 years since India's independence, a state-run passenger bus reached the tribal village of Kategaon. Once haunted by the sound of gunfire, now the village resonates with the sound of a bus horn. DD India's Somesh Patel reports. Maharashtra State Road Transport Corporation launched its first ever bus service to Kategaon village in Gadchiroli district. The new road connects nearly 30 villages including Chandgaon, Dhanora, Pendri, Murumgaon, Dharekeda and Kategaon. The bus operates twice a day between Gadchiroli town and Kategaon. Long associated with Naxal violence and inaccessibility, this border region near Chhattisgarh is now shedding its old image. Kategaon, a tribal majority village in Dhanora Tehsil, was once a place even government vehicles hesitated to enter. Today it hums with the rhythm of a bus on the move. Local residents are visibly elated. They say this long-awaited service has transformed their lives. Children no longer need to walk miles to school, and access to healthcare is now easier. We never imagined a bus would reach our village, says Ganesh Koyale, a local teacher. This has made everything simpler, education, healthcare, even going to the market, he says.
हमारे गांव में बस भेजने का तय किया उन्होंने, बहुत खुशी की बात है। हमारे गांव के बच्चे या हम कोई किसान, महिलाएं, हम बाहर जाने के लिए हमको बहुत बोले तो तकलीफ हो रही थी।
Staff operating the service say that ever since the launch on April 26th, it has seen consistent demand and is now a lifeline for residents across nearly 30 villages.
यहाँ जो पुलिस स्टेशन है कटेजरी में, वहाँ से डिमांड हुई थी कि हमें एक बस चाहिए कटेजरी के लिए, तो उनकी सेवा के लिए और वहाँ से कुछ पैसेंजर्स होते हैं उनके लिए, उनकी डिमांड पर हमने सर्वे किया और उसके बाद 26 अप्रैल 2025 से ये बस शुरू हुई है।
According to Kategaon Police Station in charge Ajay Subhash Bhosle, This area was once completely under Naxal control, but because of continuous efforts by security forces and local administration, the situation has improved significantly. Once marked in red on the map as a danger zone, Kattegaon has now turned a new chapter. This bus isn't just a mode of transport, it's a symbol of long-awaited development, resilience, and triumph over fear. Kattegaon today reflects the new face of India, where democracy, development, and trust move forward together. The arrival of the bus is not just about improving connectivity, but also a testament that this region is finally stepping out of the shadow of Naxalism. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now to all the news from the world of sport. The Italian pair of Sara Errani and Jasmine Paolini beat Anna Danilina and Alexandra Krunic 6-4, 2-6, 6-1 to win the women's doubles title at the French Open on Sunday. It was the first Grand Slam trophy for the second-seeded Italians, who also won the Paris Olympics doubles title on the same court last year. Both sides traded breaks midway through the first set before the Olympic gold medalists bagged it. Danilina and Krunic bounced back, easily earning the second set, but they were broken twice at the start of the third set. The Italians wrapped up their first Grand Slam title as a pair when Krunic sank a forehand into the net. And that's all for this edition of DD India NewsHour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code that is now on your screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India NewsHour.